very good evening to all our viewers. This is WION Wallet. I'm Sumit Chaturvedi. Let us see what is making headlines in the world of business this evening. Just 7-year-old virtual currency Bitcoin passes another major milestone, crosses $4,000 threshold, first time in history. In a big setback to Pyongyang, China will stop importing iron ore and seafood products imports from North Korea starting Tuesday as it implements new UN sanctions. Wholesale price index or wholesale inflation for the month of July 2017 rose 1.88% as against expectations of 1.40%, highest in the last 5 months. And once the must-have MBA program in India is fast losing favor and traction in the corporate world, 1 in 2 MBAs are jobless now. Straight to our top story, Bitcoin, the virtual currency that has taken birth just 7 years ago, has passed another major milestone today, crossing over $4,000 threshold. The cryptocurrency, which has only been in existence, as we told you, for 7 years, reached a high of $4,224. It's been a swift rise for Bitcoin, which only passed $3,000 mark for the first time at the start of month. The rise also comes fresh off the heels of so-called hard fork in Bitcoin, which saw a new virtual currency called Bitcoin Cash split off from Bitcoin proper on August 1st. The split was designed to deal with the growing popularity of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has only been in existence from the last 7 years. Bitcoin passed $3,000 mark at the start of August, and today it has crossed $4,000 mark. The virtual currency Bitcoin Cash split off from Bitcoin. Split was designed to deal with the increasing popularity of Bitcoin. The split was designed to deal with the growing popularity of Bitcoin, which was struggling to support an increasing number of transactions using existing blockchain technology. Though the move left many wondering whether market values would fall, but Bitcoin seems to have defied expectations, pushing through the $4,000 barrier with ease, though there is no certainty on where values are headed, particularly as we push closer toward the day when every Bitcoin is mined. And sample this: purchasing 1 Bitcoin for 8 cents back in 2010, 7 years ago, would have netted you a 58,000-fold return today.
How many more Bitcoins do you have?
And news coming from US, where overseas demand is driving the best earning season for US companies in 13 years, with top executives from Dow Chemical to Morgan Stanley citing rising foreign sales, a dynamic that should help propel gains in the second half. Now, with nearly every global economy showing growth, corporate profits in the second quarter have beaten estimates at more than 3/4 of the Standard & Poor's 500 member companies. In every sector, at least half of the companies have surpassed or met expectations, with many also getting a boost from a sinking US dollar. So while Europe was the source of earnings strength in the first 3 months of 2017, emerging market sales were the driving force from April through June. Nearly 80% of S&P 500 companies have topped earning estimates, and overseas demand is driving the best earnings season. At least 50% of firms of every sector have excelled. And dollar is down 6.4% against a basket of world currencies. One more reason why American Inc. has registered the best results as far as the corporate results season is concerned. The past 3 months' momentum could continue in the second half too. So very good news coming from US, where overall companies have registered the best profit quarter in the last 13 years. And let's move over to China and North Korea. In the signs of US-North Korea tensions escalating and shifting between China and North Korea, China, the biggest trading partner of Pyongyang, has banned imports from its southern neighbors. The Chinese ban will affect North Korea's export of iron ore and seafood. The ban will be implemented from Tuesday, which is tomorrow, as Beijing looks to abide by new UN sanctions. China has pledged to fully enforce the latest sanctions against its diplomatic ally, North Korea. This is after coming under pressure from the United States. Beijing is supposed to be against North Korea to drop its nuclear weapons program. And I'm joined by my colleague Raghavendra Rao for more on this. Raghavendra, first of all, I would like to know from your side the details of this story, how this overall US and North Korea sanctions have now shifted to China and North Korea sanctions, and why have they shifted now?
Well, Sumit, it's a very major development because for all these months and years when there was increasing pressure on North Korea from the United States as well as the UN, China was being seen largely as the benefactor of North Korea. China was one of their chief defenders, so to say, in the international community. But going by what all North Korea has done in the past few weeks, their missile program, their nuclear program, and the way they have been going ahead, throwing all caution to the wind, the fact that the UN Security Council has stepped in and has imposed sanctions on North Korea, China is now falling in line in a way and is agreeing to what all the major countries in the UN, including the US, are trying to do to isolate North Korea in a bid to stall this nuclear program and missile program of that country.
All right.
So this is essentially in continuation of those UN sanctions that China has now finally decided to discontinue imports from North Korea, imports related to coal, iron ore, lead ore, and these restrictions will kick in from the midnight of September 5th.
Thank you so much, Raghavendra, for talking to us and getting us all these important details on this development. And moving from China to Japan, Japan's economy grew for a sixth straight quarter, extending the longest expansion in more than a decade as a strong pickup in demand at home compensated for softer exports. The GDP, or gross domestic product, increased by an annualized 4% in the 3 months ended June 30th, compared with a revised 1.5% in the previous quarter. The private consumption rose 0.9% in the second quarter from the previous 3 months. Business spending has advanced 2.4%. The last time Japan strung together this many quarters of growth was back in mid-2006 during the government of then Prime Minister Koizumi. Now, should the economy extend the run of expansion into the third quarter, it will be the best performance since 2001. Now, after more than 4 years under Prime Minister Abe, the yen has fallen, corporate profits have soared, and the economy is running above its potential growth rate. Yet inflation remains stubbornly low despite massive monetary stimulus from the central bank. Economists are watching intently for signs that the tightest labor market in decades is beginning to bring wages gains. So Japan is witnessing economic growth, the business spending has increased, yen has fallen, corporate profits have soared. Now Japan's economy is running above potential growth rate. Let's talk about Brexit. The Welsh Nationalist Party has accused the UK government of being ill-prepared for Brexit as it vowed to fight a landmark bill to take Britain out of European Union. The criticism underscores the continuing tensions between Prime Minister May and the semi-autonomous administrations in Wales and Scotland. The Scottish government said last week that it will not back the repeal bill needed to transfer EU legislation into UK law, accusing Westminster of a power grab. The Welsh Assembly is also planning to oppose the legislation. Dispute over bill, which is due to be debated in the fall, threatens to cause a constitutional crisis for May's already weakened administration. Theresa May, the PM of UK, is seeking consent from the legislature in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland to approve the bill. Now, while she is not bound by their decision, there are no precedents for the central government ignoring such a refusal. And over to social media now, where Facebook has found a new way to enter China secretly by launching an app under a different name. The photo sharing app called Colorful Balloons was released in May to help Facebook enter a market that it's been locked or blocked since 2009. Facebook has said its goal of connecting the world wouldn't be possible without the world's most populated country. Facebook has long eyed China's more than 700 million internet users who currently use homegrown social networks, including Tencent Holdings' WeChat. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has made repeated attempts to woo Chinese authorities, learning Mandarin and touting a book by President Xi Jinping. He even posted a photo of himself jogging past Tiananmen Square last year that caused a stir on social media. So clearly Facebook is finding ways to enter its biggest market where it is still not present through a secret app. CEO Zuckerberg has made repeated attempts to enter China, and those were quite public attempts when they happened. Well, when Zuckerberg posted the picture of himself jogging past Tiananmen Square last year that caused a stir on social media. Chinese authorities have recently ramped up censorship of social media and messaging platforms, partially blocking Facebook-owned WhatsApp last month. And let's come over to India news. The wholesale price index or wholesale inflation for the month of July 2017 has risen 1.88% against analyst expectations of 1.4%. WPI or wholesale price inflation in July of 2016 stood at 0.63%, while in June 2017 it rose by 0.9%. The wholesale inflation in food articles was up 2.15%, while that of fuel, power, lighting, it also rose 4.37%. Analysts expected WPI inflation to rise in July 2017 as prices picked up in the month of November. However, WPI continues to be well below the Reserve Bank of India's target. Reserve Bank of India expects retail inflation could accelerate to 3.5% to 4.5% in October-December. RBI had cut repo rate by 25 basis points, bringing interest rates to multi-year lows of 6% earlier this month because of disinflation pressures. Data show that WPI inflation in pulses dropped 32.5%, while potatoes saw a drop in wholesale inflation of 42.45%. And in a major setback to Subrata Roy-owned Sahara Group, the Bombay High Court today put up its prestigious Ambi Valley property in Maharashtra for a public auction. The official liquidator for the Ambi Valley city in Nolamna has put up a reserve price of rupees 37,400 crore as part of efforts to partially recover the pending dues to various lenders. The development came 3 days after the Supreme Court, Apex Court in India, declined to entertain the Sahara Group's plea to postpone auction of Prime Hill Station property nestled in the lush green Western Ghats in Pune district. And let's take some news from India's automotive world, where two-wheeler market leader Hero MotoCorp plans to launch 3 new scooter models by next fiscal as part of strategy to enhance its leadership position as erstwhile partner Honda challenges its #1 spot. The company plans to launch a new 125cc scooter in the 4th quarter of ongoing fiscal, while 2 more new models will hit the market in 2018-19, according to people in know of development. Besides, the company is working to enhance its product portfolio in the premium motorcycle segment, with plans to launch a completely new 200cc sports bike by the end of this fiscal. While Honda Motorcycle Scooters India, the two-wheeler arm of Honda, has 5 scooter models in the market at present. These are Activa, Dio, Aviator, Activa I, Click, which are all 110cc along with Activa 125. The TVS is also present here, and TVS has models such as Zest 110, Scooty Pep, Vigo and Jupiter. Over 6 years since separating from Honda, Hero MotoCorp still continues to lead the domestic motorcycle market in India with over 50% share. More news from India. The Indian economy is at the cusp of entering its strongest growth phase, and a full-blown bull market is yet to play out, says the report. And as the economy enters the strongest phase of growth when stocks, bonds and commodities all rally together. According to Edelweiss Investment Research, consumption and exports are boosting economic growth in the country. While consumption has displayed sharp recovery after the cash crunch in early 2017, investments are witnessing only a government-supported recovery, which is inadequate but effective for a few sectors like railways, roads and power transmission and distribution. Regarding the uptick in equities, the report said stock markets are driven by low inflation, profitability and increase in financial savings. Edelweiss Investment Research expects Nifty to touch 11,500 in calendar year 2018. Nifty is currently hovering around 9,700 level. The wide-based index had breached 10,000 mark for the first time on July 25 last month. And the move to hike ceiling of cess on large cars and SUVs to 25% under the new GST regime would impact growth of advanced global models in India and could come in the way of country becoming global auto hub. Well, that's warning coming from Japanese auto major Honda. The company, which operates in the country through a wholly owned arm, Honda Cars, said the move is a big disappointment and it will isolate India as a market with too much bias towards small cars. Currently, large cars and SUVs attract top GST rate of 28% with a cess of 15%. However, early this month, GST Council approved a proposal to hike cess on them to 25%. The Indian automobile industry is moving towards globalization in emission norms and safety standards. But too much focus on small cars and the tax benefits to small cars will isolate India from the global auto trends. A lot of models which are classified as entry segments in other countries are regarded as luxury models in India just because it is over 4 meters in length. Global automakers in India wants this anomaly to be corrected as well. And once the must-have MBA program in India is fast losing favor and attraction in the corporate world, the last few years especially have proved to be rough for the B school graduates. Data from across the country shows that payoff of this course has not been promising. Almost 1 of 2 MBA graduates is not placed and unemployment among MBAs is rising. While the top-notch MBAs from Indian School of Management see 100% placement every year, graduates from Tier B schools don't quite make the mark, say recruiters. To make matters worse, many of those who do not get into the B schools, top B schools, do not settle for a second-run college either. The fallout of the drop in admissions has seen the closure of around 230 B schools, which no longer saw business sense in offering an MBA course. Last year, an SHM study concluded that only 7% of MBA graduates from Indian business schools, excluding those from top 20 colleges, get a job straight after completing their course. But MBAs are still better than engineers, where 1 in 10 engineers in India land a job. So MBA statistics are still better, but out of 10 engineers who get jobs, 6 are reservation category. Let's talk about markets today. Indian markets have recovered their losses, which we were witnessed last week. The benchmark indices in India ended the session today in green after a weak previous 5 sessions, with the Nifty ending just below the Sensex and closed up 235 points. Nifty ended below, we can say that, around 110,000 mark, and Sensex also ended down. The market breadth was positive as around 1,800 shares advanced against a decline of 720 shares, while 120 shares were unchanged. And I'm joined by analyst today evening, A.K. Prabhakar, Head of Research, IDBI Capital. Good evening to you, Mr. Prabhakar. How do you analyze the trade today? How did it go?
Good evening. No, see, after 8 days of correction, 1 day of rally is always possible. But the market is in a consolidation phase. After making a high of 10,135, we have corrected almost 400, 450 points. But this is a minor correction. This correction now should be little bit more, so that the froth which was built in the last 8 months, will be removed. So I think the correction is a healthy correction, and there were many factors for the correction. but that is not important. The correction gives a very good entry point for a long-term investor, and I think this rally is not sustainable. One more leg of correction is there before any meaningful rally happens.
And what is happening over there in the global markets, Mr. Prabhakar? They were also trading in mix today as far as European markets are concerned. They were in green while Asian markets were mixed. So what are the big factors to watch out for going forward?
The important factor is geopolitical risk. That is the important factor where that risk is slightly mitigated, and I think people have taken they have taken this into account, and they feel there will be a solution. Nobody wants to get into a war-like situation, so I think that is slowly out of the way. No, so I think global geopolitics is the main issue, and that is where the global markets have started their rally.
And Mr. Prabhakar, any big sectors that are on top of your mind as far as Indian markets are concerned? What are the big sectors you still see has some uplift left, where still some steam is left, and those can be really invested in?
Yeah, see, power sector has not rallied much, and power grid NTPC is the valuations are very attractive in those space. Oil and gas, you have companies like IGL and MGL, Mahanagara Gas, which supplies to household. So there, I think there is a huge potential. Even Petronet, these are in oil and gas space, and these are stocks which have huge potential from here on also. And even IOC, and Reliance in oil and gas, they look very good. The NBFC as a space, after a correction also is looking very attractive. I think this sector can give you 20 to 25% return in next 12 months.
And also, Mr. Prabhakar, if we talk about the other markets across the globe, do you think that over the next few days they will remain volatile, or they will also, be in some positive territory going forward?
Every market is usually highly overbought. So some more correction will come, and we have Fed meeting next month. So before that, one more dip is likely, and the result season are coming to the end. Maybe today or tomorrow, most of the results will be out, and people will start compiling and seeing how it has panned out. And if we notice that there is a top line growth in India, whereas bottom line has been slightly impacted by the GST impact. So maybe one more quarter of pain, after which these things will go in India. But globally, it is about the earnings have to catch up globally also, which is not happening.
All right, Mr. Prabhakar, thank you for getting us all these details and talking to us. We were talking to our analyst for today, Mr. Prabhakar from IDBI Capital. That's all we have in this edition of WION Wallet.